Hey everybody, what's good? What's going on? JB here with another CyberInsight live stream video. Thanks for coming back. Today's video, we're going to be covering a few different things. Primarily going to be talking about my latest certification adventure, which was going after the JNCIA-MistAI certification, which is their newest wireless cert. And then kind of in celebration of that, we're going to be doing a giveaway for a Juniper Networks exam certificate voucher. So, help you guys out with being able to get a free Juniper cert. So, pretty cool. This is going to be a live stream, obviously. So, as we're going through this, if you have any questions, comments, queries, citations, annotations, affirmations, hell, if you got some cool configurations, drop those in the chat window and we'll talk about all that goodness. So yeah, let's hop over into the web browser, and I'm going to kind of give you a little bit of an overview again of the resources that I used, and then go through some, I don't want to say examples, but some recommendations based off of my experience with the exam. So yeah, let's hop over there. Let's see. All right, so this should look somewhat familiar to folks if you watched the first video when we were going through the different resources. I think when I did my practice test video, we covered this. So we have the regular Juniper website here, which kind of gives a breakdown of the exam and the different areas that it covers. So if we are looking at this, it's the same standard layout as the rest of their associate exams. It's 90 minutes, 65 questions. In this case, the base score that you needed to pass was a 60. And then the areas that it covers is kind of a combination of the particular things that we would normally see, like in the Network Plus, wireless topics for their learning objectives. So if we kind of take a look through here, we're talking about, the 2.4 versus 5 gigahertz frequencies, different types of channels, signal strength, attenuation, different types of additional improvements as we kind of go through the, I won't say life cycle, but as we go through the different amendments to the different wireless standards, how they've kind of improved over time. Then kind of talk a little bit about some of the security features and the differences between IEEE and the Wi-Fi Alliance and what they're responsible for. Covering things such as the design aspects of implementing Wi-Fi. So, the types of things that you want to take into account, whether it be the amount of clients, the type of devices that they're going to have, the location, placement of wireless access points, things like that. And then really the rest of it was mostly focused on the MistAI components. So this is a new technology that Juniper has pulled into their portfolio of devices, kind of cover the way that you go about managing these different types of missed access points, different levels of subscriptions, and with that comes different types of reporting and features. So it's important to hit on all that stuff. From the configuration standpoint, it's kind of broken down from a higher level organizational standpoint, and then underneath that you can configure multiple sites, and then within your sites you have your individual APs. And so it's kind of important to understand what types of configurations you do at each of these different hierarchical levels, and then the templates and the policies that you would go about attaching at those different points. So when we kind of talked about this before, are the main things that I used from a study perspective was the MistMasters website, which is their self-paced online training, and then the Juniper Junos or the Junos Genius website, which they don't have any training up here, but they do have a practice test. And so I use that as well. Now, looking at what actually happened on the exam and my experience with that, I think this has been maybe the seventh at-home cert that I've taken this year. So the whole Pearson VUE testing procedure thing is pretty straightforward for me at this point. If that's new for you and you haven't done that before, then you want to make sure that you download their app, you do all the testing that you need to do with that ahead of time to make sure that your webcam works and your audio works and your internet connection is good enough. But once you get through that, they have a little bit of a verification process you do. You can sign in 30 minutes before your test. They're going to want you to take a picture of yourself, your ID, take a look around your room, take some pictures of all that jazz. And then you kind of go from there and hop into the test. And, I didn't have any technical difficulties this time doing the test. I also didn't have them yell at me like last time when I took the DevOps test. So that was pretty good. Now, as far as my own experience with the actual content on the test, as I mentioned, the minimum passing score is 60, and I got an 85. And while that seems like really, really good and really, really solid, I would say that this, out of all of the Juniper tests that I've taken, was the one that I was the most concerned with whether or not I actually passed or not. Once I got to the end of my test, I think I actually had maybe 20 questions highlighted to go back and review, because I really wasn't quite sure whether or not I had the right answer. I mean, so obviously me going back and reviewing those, I picked more right answers than wrong answers, but that was almost a third of the test that I kind of was, unsure of my answer. In some of the other Juniper certs, I've kind of hinted at the fact that the practice test really, really sets you up in a way where you'll probably see a lot of similar questions on the actual real test. In this case, with the MistAI exam, it wasn't quite, trying to think how I want to put this in a nice way. There wasn't as much of an overlap between the questions, the practice questions, and what I saw on the exam. So you definitely want to make sure that you have a good understanding of the topics that it covers. When you go through the MIST Masters training program, they also have their own questions that pop up as you go through the different sections in that. So that might be something that you want to spend a little bit of extra time making sure that you understand those questions, because I think some of the content from that had a lot of play into some of the questions that ended up on the actual exam. So as far as content, or I shouldn't say content, as far as particulars and things like that you should really focus on from my perspective, I have a few different notes here. I think, one of the main things is you really want to make sure that you understand the differences between the 2.4 and 5 gigahertz standards. You want to understand which ones came first, which ones are the newest ones, the differences between those as far as channel overlap and having unique channels with the 5 gigahertz, understanding the bandwidth increases that come with those, and also understanding the different types of obstructions or interference that you would get with both of those. Another thing that you want to make sure that you really cover is the different types of subscription levels that you have with the different types of MIST tool sets and access points. You want to make sure that you understand what you're getting from the base package, and then also other types of reporting that you're going to get, what licensing comes with that, other types of features, such as dealing with like some Bluetooth technology that they have. Those are all things that you're going to want to make sure that you fully understand. So if you just go into this because you have a strong background in Wi-Fi, but you don't necessarily spend any time covering the MIST stuff, you're setting yourself up for failure. So you do want to make sure that you do put the effort into understanding their service portfolio. Other things, the difference between Marvist and the Mist Cloud, again, different features, different types of reporting, all that jazz. You want to have a good understanding of different types of wireless site surveys, right? So what are the different types of tools that you would use for site surveys? Different types of site surveys that you would do, whether they're active or passive, the differences between those. Kind of some different recommendations that would come out of site surveys and troubleshooting the results that you would find on a site survey. Kind of going back to when we were talking about the 2.4 gigahertz versus 5 gigahertz, you want to make sure that you have an understanding of the different types of interference that you would end up getting when it comes to Wi-Fi endpoints and the different types of access points. Some stuff, might be related to the DFS channels and radar, right? That's something that you're going to end up seeing more on the 5 gigahertz side of things. On the 2.4 gigahertz side of things, you might see stuff like, microwaves and stuff like that. There's a whole bunch of different things and different scenarios, and you want to just kind of, hit on those to make sure that you understand the different types of interferences that are out there and which type of Wi-Fi they affect. I mentioned DFS, that being something that you're going to want to hit on. You want to know what the DFS channels are. You want to know which bands they're in, what channels they're in. Those types of things are important to know. Don't sleep on the Bluetooth component of this and the MistAI stuff, because you will see that brought up a bit. So you want to understand, what devices support Bluetooth and what are the reasons that you would want to use Bluetooth in the services that the MistAI access points are able to provide over Bluetooth. And I want to say the last thing that you really want to focus on, or the last group of things, is understanding signal strength. I mean, that is a really, really key component when it comes to wireless things. So you want to make sure that you understand what the RSSI is. You want to understand what's considered good signal strength, what's considered bad signal strength. Understand that the signal to noise ratio being your receive signal strength versus what your noise level is in the environment. You also want to understand the principles related to DBMs and how your rules of 3 and your rules of 10, right? So whenever you go up or down 3 dBm, really what you're doing is you're doubling or halving the signal strength. And the other side of that is if you actually are going up or down 10 dBm, you're really multiplying or dividing that signal strength by 10. So understanding those rules and how you would take that information and troubleshoot with that or plan are important things to do as well. So if anybody has any questions on any of the MistAI stuff, drop that in the comments and we can chat about that. And I want to see if there's anything else here. I think that was pretty much the main things that I wanted to talk about from a MistAI standpoint. That means I'm done with all 6 Juniper associate certs. So we will see what lies next as far as Juniper certifications go. Let's see. We got one thing here. Let's see. We got a comment. Congratulations on your success. Just completed the JNCIA-SEC to add to the JNCIA-Cloud, and Junos would like to go for. Awesome. Yeah, definitely do that. Which of those did you like the most? I think I know the Junos one I think is technically speaking the most challenging. But the Junos one is the one that I actually have the most hands-on background in, because I haven't done any of the cloud stuff. And the SEC one, I thought it was good, but it kind of was just, a little bit more memorizing security principles and kind of their service portfolio. And let's see. Is there any site for practice with the MIST interface? That's a good question. I did not see anything, or I did not come into anything there. I will say that with the training videos that they have on MIST Mastered, they do spend an awful lot of time going through, I don't know, screenshots and also kind of like guided discovery in their videos where they're kind of walking through the GUI and showing you different things. So I think that was kind of helpful a lot. There's kind of a few different areas where you're going to see more focus as far as what you need to know from a GUI perspective. And that's kind of looking at their different SLAs that they have. And they have some reporting on that within the GUI, which, maybe it has to do with, I don't know, association or something like that. And then from that, it will show you some graphics as far as issues that people have within the environment. And then underneath that particular SLA, they actually break it out graphically into different areas that are actually causing those particular issues. So some of the questions that you might see that they're trying to get you to understand is if you're looking at a overall SLA, being able to look at the underlying issues that kind of cause the issues with that overarching SLA and determine, which ones are impacting people at what point. They also had, some stuff where you're going to want to be looking at events that are coming in and understanding, what they are and answering questions based off of the information that's presented to you. So, to answer your question, I didn't see anything as far as you being able to get hands-on yourself, but the videos themselves, I think, did a pretty decent job as far as breaking down the particular interfaces or pages within the GUI that you need to be aware of when it comes to taking the exam. And Junos for sure. Yeah. Definitely agree with that. That was well, actually, from a technical perspective, that was my favorite. From overall, I still like the JNCDA, the architecture and design one. And I've said this before to other people. I just thought that it was a group of learning objectives, I guess would be the way to put it, that really, I think, prepare people, especially that might be new to network engineering, to look at the job from kind of like an overall project lifestyle or project life cycle perspective, all the way from, initiation to continual service improvement and understanding, all the things that you need to do in there in order to have a successful network engineering project. And then they kind of overlay design principles and architecture principles into that as well. So I like that one quite a bit. Well, if there are no other questions or comments with that, then I'm going to go ahead and announce the winner of the giveaway for the voucher. And let me see if I can pull that up here. And so the winner is Mark J. Ewell, Baron_CamLost, who wants to do the DevOps Associate. So he's going to want to do that and probably do a little bit of doubling up on the information that he'd be learning from that with the Cisco DevOps stuff, which would be very, very useful as far as understanding Python and JSON and YAML and all that good stuff. So yeah, that's awesome. Congratulations on that. I'll hit you up on Twitter via DM and get you that voucher code. And yeah, I will say one other thing with this giveaway. I do have a few more vouchers that I'm going to be doing, or voucher giveaways that I'm going to be doing in the future. One thing that you might want to do that might be a little strategy for you, I guess would be the way to say, is if you are going to put your name in the hat for that, consider the fact that at the moment, all of the associate certs from Juniper already have a 75% off voucher, right? So if you do the free training, you take the voucher test, right? You do good enough on that, you end up getting a 75% off voucher. The normal price for those associate certs is $200. When you step it up to the specialist level, the cost is $300, and when you step it up to the professional level, it's $400. So if it was me and I wanted to take advantage of something like this, I would find what lane interests me the most. So like, let's say that it is the Junos, the routing and switching, right? I would not say that I would want to use the voucher for the JNCIA-Junos cert, because that already has a 75% off voucher. I would say that I want to get the specialist cert, or the professional, depending on what level you've already completed. But let's say you haven't and you don't have an associate cert yet. I would say I want to get the specialist and use it for that, because in that case, really, you're only going to be spending $50 and you would be going after 2 certs, right? And you're going to save yourself that $300 on the specialist cert. Compared to if you win it and use it on the associate cert, you're really only saving yourself $50. But to each their own. I'm just glad that folks are interested in the Juniper stuff and, going through the learning process and all that goodness. Let's see if there's any other comments or questions before we get out of here. Let me bring this over here. Out of the subject, are the materials on the Juniper website enough to pass the exam for JNCIA? I assume that you're talking about the Junos, the JNCIA-Junos exam, the one for routing and switching. I would say that the materials there are enough, coupled with the fact if you don't have any hands-on Juniper experience, that you use the VLabs, which is free, to do the different labs that are at the end of the different lessons. So at the end of each lesson, they do kind of like lab walkthroughs, where they give you the objectives of the lab and then they do the lab themselves, and you kind of, watch through it and then you answer questions and stuff like that. If it were me and I didn't have the previous Juniper experience that I have, I would take those same labs, or at least the objectives in those labs. I would go over to VLabs, spin up a device or two. They have some very, very basic cookie cutter or pre-configured device labs over there. I would hop into that and I would try to mimic the labs that they have at the end of the different chapters. I think that having the hands-on experience is super beneficial when it comes to the JNCIA-Junos exam. You can get away with the other ones without, because they don't really go too much into CLI type of stuff, but the JNCIA-Junos one is very, very, very CLI heavy. So you really need to understand how you configure things, how you do show commands, what the output from different commands means, and based on that output, how you would do other things. So I definitely would say that the resources are there for you to do it, but I would make sure that I get some hands-on lab stuff. And it's free. So, why not take advantage of the labs? They're really, really good. Let's see if there's any other questions. I think that is it. I'll give everybody a second here if they want to throw anything else in there. I'm trying to think of other things going on. I got some new video series coming up. We're going to be doing a Cisco versus Juniper video series, where I'm going to take different types of configurations or services and show you how to configure them both on Cisco and Juniper, kind of compare and contrast. I think that is useful for folks who might be coming from Cisco into Juniper, and then also for folks who have no interest in moving to Juniper, maybe kind of seeing some of the ways that they do stuff might be of interest to them and might push them in that way. Or, I don't know, sometimes people just like to see different types of networking technologies from a different perspective. So Well, if that is it, then we can go ahead and wrap this up. If you did enjoy the content here and the chat and all that jazz, I'd appreciate it if you hit the like button. And if you haven't already subscribed to the channel, go ahead and do that too. I'm always trying to put out stuff that is useful and entertaining to everybody. So yeah, if you got any other comments, drop those down in the video below. Any other questions, stuff like that, I'll get back to you later on. So, all right, everybody have a great week, and we will chat soon. All right, bye.